So, Felix, for those who know little about you, would you please explain a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure. My name's Felix. I'm 14 years old and I'm the host of an educational YouTube channel called Felix's Space Time, where I interview valued members of the space community and the space industry, lots of astronauts as well. Through my channel, I try to inspire the next generation to be excited about space, but also the next generation, my generation and kind of older generations to be excited about space and excited for what's coming in the future.
Lovely. Felix, I'd like to start with the question of your involvement with the crew of Inspiration 4 and Polaris Dawn. Your work's become quite significant and you're the main source of information for us. But what has the experience of being able to talk to those crews taught you?
First of all, the Inspiration 4 and the Polaris Dawn crew, they're amazing. Jared Essingman's been amazing, helping me get all these interviews with them. I've learned lots from them. I think I've learned more from them I've learned more from them than the research I've done on the internet about their crew before I kind of do their interview. I've also learned away from like the space scene, kind of it's helped me get better at interviewing. I know them now so much that when I go on to an interview with them, it's I'm not nervous about what questions I'm going to be asking. I know what I'm going to ask and I know who they are, and it's kind of more relaxed to be able to talk to them as well. But I've learned loads from them, and especially a lot about their mission. And I'm really excited as well for the Polaris Dawn crew the Polaris Dawn launch coming up in the summer.
Yeah, I think with knowing the crew that you've got around you, it becomes a more like an ordinary conversation, supposed as to an interview as such, because you've talked to them so much. It's kind of like their whole backstory and the like personal side of their life, so it does make it a lot easier.
Yeah, it's like walking into a room and just saying, hello, and then just going kind of with like a conversation you would have with a friend or a family member, something like that.
Could you tell us a bit about that event that you went to with the crew of Polaris Dawn? I think it was at the start or towards the end of last year.
So are you talking about the Aim Higher Gala in
That's
London?
correct.
Yes, so that was in May of 2021 with the Inspiration 4 crew and Scott from the Polaris Dawn crew. I had an amazing night there. Got to meet so many amazing people in the space industry. Tim Peake, lots of people like that. Poppy Northcutt, the first female engineer in NASA's mission control. There was an award show as well. The Inspiration 4 crew all won an award for their mission. Yeah, and I had an amazing night, and I'd definitely do it again.
That's amazing to hear. Now, Felix, you're one who is most excited for the UK's opportunity to finally start launching rockets from UK soil. So let's talk about Virgin Orbit. They seemed destined for success over at Spaceport Cornwall, but sadly, their mission ended in failure from stage 2. What's your opinion on Virgin Orbit, and can they recover from here, or is that game over?
I think I was there at the Virgin Orbit launch. It was amazing. All the people there are amazing. They've done so much hard work to get to that moment for their first launch. For Virgin Orbit, I don't think there's much hope left. I mean, they filed for bankruptcy. Someone might buy them out over the next couple of weeks. Not really sure how any of that works, but for Virgin Orbit, I think there's not much hope left. But for Spaceport Cornwall, there's still loads of hope for them. Back in January when they launched, they proved that they can bring in satellites, a rocket, a plane, put the satellites in the rocket, strap the rocket to the bottom of the plane and launch it. All of that went smoothly for them. Although the satellites didn't reach orbit, that's not Spaceport Cornwall's fault. They did everything correctly how they should have done. And I think they're going to have lots more customers in the future wanting to come to launch with them. So yeah, it's definitely not the end for Spaceport Cornwall. Definitely not for UK spaceflight either. They've got the launch pads up in Scotland, which hopefully they're going to start launching this year or next year. So there's a lot of hope in it for them.
Yeah, there is indeed. And I think there's people like Mike Mongo who know a lot about Spaceport Saxevord in Scotland, and obviously you've got Sky Aurora. So there's definitely a lot coming our way. It's just a matter of how long. But it was unfortunate for what happened to Virgin Orbit. And I really hope at some point we either see them brought out and their products still able to launch, but it obviously won't be under the branding of Virgin Orbit.
Yeah, they're going to need to get a lot of work done before they can launch again.
Mm-hmm. Let's move on to a very, very keen topic within the space community over the last couple of weeks. It's been announced that Starship is likely to launch on the 17th of April. Now, this was originally pushed back from the 10th, but it was announced by SpaceX themselves that they're setting up for a launch rehearsal, which is currently now 11th of April. Now, we've seen a lot of progress, and obviously everyone's keen for this to reach its destined orbital inclination. How excited are you personally for this?
I'm really excited. I've been following along with the Starship program since the early prototypes launch, so SN 8 and 9. Watched them. But it's going to be good. Like Elon Musk said, there's going to be 100% excitement guaranteed. And I'm excited for the launch. Hopefully, I'm off school. It's a inset bank holiday day kind of thing on the 17th, so I'll hopefully be watching that.
And how far into flight do you think they'll get?
I'm not sure about reaching orbit, but I think they'll get through max Q.
I think that one is something I'm aiming for, because obviously this is something that has never been tried before. You're talking a 33 engine booster with a 6-engine ship stacked on top. And structurally, is it plausible? That's where max Q comes in. We've seen it with Terran. Now we're going to see it with Starship. I think this is a similar aspect to what Relativity were looking for. Is this rocket structurally viable? And if it is, how far do they get? And what can they do from there to improve? That brings me on to my next question, because obviously Starship is now a collaboration with NASA for the Artemis missions and the Artemis program, which is obviously a joint effort between so many different launch companies. But my question is, Dear Moon has been announced, and the Artemis Lunar 2 crew has been announced, obviously Victor Glover being one of the main ones who we saw fly on Crew Dragon for his debut launch to space. What are your thoughts on the achievements of human space flight so far?
Yeah, it's really exciting to see everything, especially now that they've released the names for the Artemis 2 crew. It's all coming together. The kind of the return, humanity's return to the moon, and the Artemis generation. There's definitely, over the last 5-10 years, there's definitely been lots more activity in the space industry, even more than there already was. So it's exciting to see, and I can't wait for Artemis 2 as well. That's going to be amazing. I can't wait until they start using the lunar Starship as well.
And to further talk about Dear Moon, Tim Dodd, aka the Everyday Astronaut, has been selected to fly around the moon on Starship. Now, Tim Dodd announced on a stream a few years ago he wouldn't think ever about going to space, but if he did, he'd like to fly on Starship. Now, I think everyone here will agree that Tim Dodd was the perfect candidate, and he now gets to bring us views of the moon from Starship, and he's one of the top webcast for us. He travels around in his new van. He's gone to Relativity. He's gone to Firefly, he's gone to SpaceX, and I think this is a huge achievement for Tim.
Yeah, definitely. I talked to Tim Dodd a few weeks ago about it. He's really excited. He said he's gonna try his best to bring the experience of orbiting around the moon to everyone. So hopefully he's gonna, like you said, bring us some amazing views.
And tell us a bit about how this pizza deal came about between you and Tim, because I've seen it circulating on Twitter that if you do end up going down to Florida, he'll finally take you out for that pizza. Tell us a bit about that.
It's not very clear, but in my head, but it was, I did a stream a couple months ago. It was back late 2022.
Yeah.
With Mary Liz from Cosmic Perspective. They were doing an album release, amazing album. But Tim Dodd was in the chat talking about something. I've completely forgotten. But he said if so and so happens, I'll take so and so out for pizza. And that thing happened. And so now I'm hopefully gonna have pizza with him when I go to Florida.
That's going to be an amazing thing, and I'm sure you're going to bring us so many different more interviews with him in Florida, and hopefully you're going to witness your first Falcon 9 launch in person, with that being Polaris Dawn.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that. And a big thank you to everyone who's donated to help me get some gear to share the experience with everyone. And also a big thank you to Jared Eisenman, who's being a big help with this whole thing. I'm really excited for it.
I'll link the GoFundMe page at the description of the video for people to go and donate to. And please, if you have the money to, please go and donate to Felix. He's going to bring us so many different contents, different interviews, hopefully, and some amazing launch footage of Polaris Dawn. So fingers crossed, Felix, it comes around. And is it July they're aiming for?
So the rough date was summer. So that'll be July or August, hopefully.
Yeah, my guess it's very soon.
I'm guessing my guess for the launch date is probably late July, early August.
Yeah, so it's coming soon, very soon. So let's talk about Relativity. We mentioned a bit about them earlier. But Relativity finally made their debut, the Terran 1 Methalox rocket. It made it past Max Q, which proved the hypothesis that 3D printed rockets are structurally viable. So do you think we will see more launches switching to 3D printing?
I don't think that we'll see companies switching to it, but I definitely think we'll start seeing companies popping up that are going to use this. Kind of from the get-go, using the 3D printing. But I think there's still lots to be proven yet. If it can go up, if it can orbit, I definitely think they've got a lot of hope in it. I hope in 3D printed rockets. And you never know, maybe we'll see more companies pop up who are using this new technology.
We know that companies like Rocket Lab use 3D printings for their Rutherford engines.
Yeah.
And it's now a case of, okay, so Relativity proved that 3D rockets are structurally viable. So how far can they go to A, prove it's very successful, and B, prove that it's reusable? Yeah, it's a question that I think so many different companies and startups might even look into to see how successful they can be.
Yeah, I mean, Rocket Lab could start 3D printing their rockets soon. You never know.
I honestly think Peter Beck should think about that. I might forward that idea to him on Twitter. Next up is ULA. They've got Vulcan Centaur hopefully debuting this year, but we've seen recently, per Tori Bruno, that a Centaur 5 underwent structural testing and unfortunately had encountered, I think it was a hydrogen explosion. Do you think that will set them back? And do you think they're still on track for a launch this year?
ULA is an amazing company. So is Tori Bruno, amazing guy. I definitely think that Whatever happens, they're going to get the rocket off the ground. Hopefully this year, if not next year. Have a lot of trust in ULA for they've launched all these rovers and everything. So have a lot of trust in them to launch. And like I said, whatever happens, they'll get it to orbit.
And they've got 100% track record at the moment with their launches. I don't think they've ever had a launch failure. The only problems I know ULA have had is encountered problems before the flight has actually taken place. Obviously, we've seen recently that Delta 4 might have to be destacked due to a stuck flight valve. But apart from that, their track record has been 100% hitting almost bullseye orbital insertions every time.
Yeah, they're an amazing
do you think
company.
they'll keep that track record?
I mean, it's always difficult to say, especially when they're about to debut a new rocket. Fingers crossed it all goes well and they keep their track record, but if they don't, that's space is hard. But they'll always recover from it. They have an amazing team, and yeah, whatever happens, they'll get to orbit.
We'll be cheering them on every step of the way.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Falcon 9. Obviously, last year they went for, I think it was just about 70 launches. This year they want to go for around 100. How long do you think it will be before Falcon 9 is phased out for Starship? And do you think 100 launches in a year is feasible?
By the looks of it so far, I definitely think they'll get to their 100 launches by the end of the year. But I think it's going to be a while until they completely phase out, if they ever do. If they ever do phase out Falcon 9 for Starship, it's going to take a while. They need to get Starship off the ground first, in one piece, and into orbit and then back. So they've got a lot to prove until they can start putting satellites in it and for companies. And I definitely think it's not going to be anytime soon. I think that they phase out Falcon 9 for a Starship. Yeah, it's going to be a while.
Yeah, I think Falcon 9 is now becoming one of the most reliable US rockets that's ever been built. And obviously now they've got over 100 successful consecutive booster landings, and I don't think that's going to go anywhere time soon.
Yeah.
So let's forward a question to you then, Felix. What are you most excited for in the future of spaceflight, and how many companies do you think will make the cut?
I'm really the things I'm most excited for at the moment. There's the Starship orbital flight. Hopefully next week, the 17th. I think lots more companies once space is more accessible. I think a lot more companies will start kind of weighing in for the opportunity to create something and send it to space. And think hopefully for SpaceX, they're gonna get their the Starship to the moon for Artemis 3, and then onto Mars. They're the things I'm most excited for. Kind of in the near future, the Polaris Dawn launch in the summer, and then hopefully the announcement of the next Polaris crew, and after that the first crewed launch of Starship with the third and final, maybe final, Polaris crew launch.
Let's hope it stays that way, and I'm definitely excited for Polaris. I think Polaris have got an incredible team, and I look forward to all the content you're hopefully going to be able to bring us from Florida, live from the Kennedy Space Center with the crew.
Yeah.
I wish you all the best, and I hope you have a lot of fun. I look also forward to the content with Tim Dodd eating pizza. Thank you very much for the time you've taken to talk to me again, and I hope we can catch up again in the near future. Felix, thank you very much.
Thanks.